Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame LLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Today we're going to be organizing Familiar Tales, designed by Jerry Hawthorne and published by Plaid Hat Games. This is a fully sleeved copy of the game with no lid lift that's designed to get you started playing as soon as possible. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please make sure that you do. It is the best way to help us grow. Let's get started with organizing Familiar Tales. First off, we'll lift the lid here, and inside you'll see that we have 3 booklets on top. The first is your rulebook, which is the rules for the game, as well as a very nice reference on the back for the phases of a turn, the different skill card icon effects, and the afflictions that you may receive or may give out during the game. Up next, we have our campaign journal here. I won't get too much into detail on what's tracked on here. It's got your locations, but the big thing is you want to write your Misfortune as well as your Discontent, because the wheels in the Discontent and Misfortune marker that we'll see later are a little bit flimsy. They'll move around a little bit, so I like having these here to save your progress throughout games. Up next, we have our location book, which serves as the board for the game. You'll open up to the current page you are. This is your starting page, so no spoilers here. But then you'll populate it with your familiars. You'll just follow this starting setup guide on the page that you're on. Underneath those booklets, we have 2 distinct sections, your card and deck box section on the right, and then all of your miniatures and your tokens on the left here. You'll notice that this looks a little bit different than what you'll see in your box. First off, we went ahead and trimmed the cardboard section here, leaving only one of those wells to actually fit the cards. It fits them really nicely though, so we cut it and slid it over to the right here. On this left side, we'll have all of our token containers and some third-party organizers that I'll leave links in the description below for. First off, we'll start with the right side here. We use these Ultra Pro oversized card sleeves. I'll leave a link in the description below for the sleeves we use for all the contents in this game, but we specifically use them for these large character cards. You're only going to need 4 of them, but you'll have Flicker and Chalk, Grippert, as well as Blaze. So you put those on top of all these because you'll be needing these and you'll reference these each game. Underneath those character cards, we have some deck boxes for Banish. The game will tell you when to remove specific cards and put them in here. Your Era 2, your Era 3, and then characters you're not using. Right now, this is set up for a solo game, so we have all of those cards in just a single deck box here. So everything else will go in this area up here, and you won't use it unless it's called for. Now, the game itself has a very descriptive setup for these different boxes here, so please go ahead and follow that. But when you actually store them, this is how you're going to store all those boxes that you are not currently using. This bottom section here is going to actually have the components that you're currently using in your campaign. You'll have one of the deck boxes that's going to have your main deck, as well as all of the different item cards that are attached to your characters. Underneath that, you'll have all of the items that are available for purchase, so you'll have them face up, the 4 that are currently in the market, as well as the different cards here that can come from the crafting deck, as well as your story items on the bottom here, marked by this journal symbol. In addition to all of the small cards, you'll also have your fatigue pool. Whenever you gain fatigue, you'll take it from this pile, so we just keep this face up in the center of the table. And then we have your story cards you've completed, as well as your baby description card and your discontent card to show how you're going to lower that discontent marker. Then we have your current active market of your 4 cards, and then your deck that you're going to be drawing more cards that you can purchase through spending that symbol here. So all of these are going to be set up at the start of each game, and you'll lay them out into their appropriate piles, or you'll splay them if they're that market display. For our standard size cards here, we use the Ultra Pro Pro Mat Deck Protector sleeves. I really like the way these shuffle, and I really like the matte finish on them, so I'll leave a link in the description below for those. And for all the smaller cards, we use the Gamegenic Mini American brand sleeves. Once again, links in the description below. So those are all of the cards on the right section here. Let's move on to the left side, which is going to hold our tokens, our dials, and our miniatures. First off, we have our Misfortune and Discontent track, and underneath that, we have an organizer that's going to hold a variety of tokens. Now, this is actually a Dollar Tree organizer, the hardware storage case. Leave a link in the description below. I really like the way these work, as you simply just open the top up, put them on the table, and they're ready to go. The game, if you pre-order, does come with a token tray that we also employ in this organization method, but there are more tokens than are actually stored in that tray, so we'll need a second one. Let's go ahead and open up this organizer and see what's inside. First off, we have all the health markers here for the different enemies that populate, objective markers, the I've already used this space markers, and then different traits that you can acquire throughout the game. We also have all your status markers here, additional plastic components in case something is lost or broken, our different spawn tokens, they're double-sided here for the different types of creatures, and then your tokens that your party currently has access to. What we've done is in our campaign log, we've marked which characters has access to which of these tokens, and then underneath that, you're going to have your longer materials, like this log token, as well as some of the border spaces you may need to put on certain maps. We've got a silica gel packet in here for freshness. And then we have all of these dials. These are going to be for all of your characters in the game. They show their health and their current power that they can use to buy new cards or activate their special action to banish cards from their discard pile. So you're just going to have those all stacked. Try not to jostle the tops here because you do want to track their progress on health and this magic resource throughout game to game. Next, we have our pre-order storage container. This is going to hold all of your tokens you can gain while foraging, as well as our chance die. You're going to need this every game, so might as well have it readily available. We've got a pencil in here to track your progress on your campaign log. And lastly, we have a plastic tray. Now this one is actually from the game Tapestry. We've gone ahead and cut it out and put it in here, but this is just to avoid having to use plastic bags so that you don't have to rummage for specific miniatures. And it's also so that the miniatures are actually protected, not crushed, and they're not going to be moving around. We've actually had some issues with some of these smaller, more fragile miniatures getting damaged. So it's nice to have them in an area to where they're going to be protected and they're not going to jostle around. You're going to have all of your large enemy figures in here that are a bit more durable, and then your smaller figures, including those little demons, as well as your plant tokens, and then the miniatures for familiars that you're going to need every game. You'll have those all in this section here. If you don't have a plastic insert from another game, don't worry. You can definitely keep the bulkier pieces in just a plastic bag if you'd like, or you can use another third-party organizer to store those more fragile pieces. This small one I really enjoy. It fits nicely in that section as well, so this could be an alternative if you don't want to use a plastic organizer from another game, and you still want to protect your miniatures to make sure they're not going to get crushed or jostle around. So I really like these two options if you don't have one of those other organizers just sitting around. And that's everything in the box. Let's go ahead and pack it up. First off, we'll put our miniatures in this left section here, followed by our pre-order organizer with all of those forge tokens. We'll then take all of our familiar dials and put them on this left side, followed by our silica gel packet. We'll then place our small resource organizer, as well as our Discontent and Misfortune tracker. We'll then place our current cards we're using, including our market section, our fatigue, and then our smaller cards, and then our deck boxes for our active players. We'll put those large character cards in next, followed by a pencil for tracking on that campaign log. We'll then put our location book on top of that, followed by our campaign log, and then our rulebook. And that is organizing Familiar Tales. If you have any questions about what you saw here, please let me know down in the comments below. How do you organize your copy of Familiar Tales? Is this one that you're excited to play? Have you already dived into it? What do you think of the voice acting? We'd love to hear what you think. But thank you so much for watching. SideGame Strong.